Hello, everyone. Today I am here to talk about Microsoft Graph Toolkit's newest release. So this release is coming this week. It's not officially out yet, but we're planning to release it this week. It'll be version 2.3. So one quick thing I wanted to highlight actually about this release is this is our first release where all of the new major features were contributed by our community members. So I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone who has contributed, whether you've contributed a feature or a bug fix, or you filed a bug for us to fix, or if you've left feedback or a feature request in your repository. All of that contributed to this release and wouldn't have been possible without it. So thank you. And for what's new in this release, we have two new major features. So the first is a Teams MSAL2 Authentication Provider. And then the second will be an addition of file upload to our file list component. So first for the Teams MSAL2 provider. So this was actually contributed by Simon. So thank you, Simon. He was unable to be here today to demo this for us, but huge thank you to Simon for contributing this. So this new provider is built on top of MSAL-browser and uses the more secure Authorization Code Flow. Our original Teams provider is actually based on MSAL.js and use the implicit grant flow. So this one is more secure, and we're going to recommend using this going forward. And an additional benefit of having this new Teams MSAL2 provider is that now it can support both the interactive login flow, which you've already seen with our original Teams provider, in addition to single sign-on. So now we have a single sign-on mode so that your users don't have to go through that login flow and sign in, and we can consent to that app. So here I just kind of have a quick code snippet of what it looks like to initialize this new provider. One thing to note is that if you are going to use SSO mode, you do need a backend service, and you need to provide the URL to that backend service in the SSO URL property. And this is how you configure your authentication. So for the interactive login flow, it's still the same. You don't need a backend service. You can just do the provider on your client, and it should work exactly as the original Teams provider works. Now that we have two Teams authentication providers, we recommend using the Teams MSAL2 provider going forward for your Teams applications. We'll continue supporting the original Teams provider until MSAL.js is supported, but we're not going to be putting any new development or features into that provider, and it will be all going into this Teams MSAL2 provider going forward. And with the release, we'll provide all of the migration documentation, as well as getting started guides for how to do SSO and set up a Teams application that uses this new provider. So for our second feature in this release, we have added a file upload feature to the file list component, which we released with our last release. So this was actually contributed by André. So thank you, André. And he's actually on this call to do a quick demo of this feature. So André, whenever you're ready, feel free to take over the screen.
So good morning, and thank you, Elise, for this small introduction itself. I will share my screen where we can see this new component. So basically, what is the main reason of this solution? So we try to use the Microsoft Graph Toolkit file list, and we create a subcomponent itself that will be able to upload the files can be to OneDrive or to SharePoint site. So what we do is just to use the same parameters that we define to use the file list to retrieve the information, and we just drop to the right place. For example, I will pick my local drive folder and I will pick some files. And if I drag and drop, I will be some actions. Basically, he will start to upload the files. Files, they are bigger, they take a little more time, and the file will be automatically uploaded. The moment we go to our OneDrive, the files will be updated. We can upload the files with folders and with their content, and we can always change this process. How it is activated on the new feature when it becomes available. So there is a new property, and here the first thing that we need to do is to define the scopes that we need to have access or to be able to upload the files. And for here, it's important that we have, for example, the files read write and the sites write well to be able to write and to upload the files itself. The second one is on the Microsoft Graph Toolkit file list. We have a new property that is called Enable File Upload. When we add this new property, the option to make upload of files will be activated on the Microsoft Graph Toolkit. And with that, we have some additional properties that can be used for future validation. For example, we want to limit the number of files to be uploaded to 10 each time. We want to define what will be the maximum file size that we're going to upload, or we can define some exclusion files itself. Another simple example, what we can do with the Microsoft Graph Toolkit is, for example, I will pick a file that already exists, I will drag and drop, and he will ask me, you want to replace the file or you want to keep the file? If we want to keep the file, we're going to have this, a new file, but as you see, there is a 1 afterwards. So we keep the file, so we have 2 files, plus with the same content, but it's renamed with 1 itself. And with this very simple validation and with these properties, you'll be able to upload your files in a very straightforward to your OneDrive or to your SharePoint. It's important only to define the options that where you want to drop it. And this is a very simple example how we can make the upload of a file. And thank you, Elise, for the opportunity to make this component. And I give it to you now the call.
No, thank you for contributing this. This is great. So those are the 2 new major features that are included in this release. We also have a bunch of bug fixes as well as other improvements to our existing features, which will be fully documented in our release notes. So the release is coming this week, so keep your eye out on Twitter and on the Graph blog for the official announcement. And if you're interested in learning more about Microsoft Graph Toolkit in the meantime, our repository is at aka.ms/mgt, and you can leave any feedback, bugs, or feature requests as an issue there. Our documentation is aka.ms/mgt-docs. And we also have a bunch of getting started guides there as well to help you create your first application using the Microsoft Graph Toolkit. And then if you just want to kind of play around with the components and see what features are available without setting up your own dev environment, you can go to our component playground at mgt.dev.
Excellent information. Thank you so much, Elise. Thank you, André, for the demo. It's wonderful stuff to see. Really appreciate you coming on today to share about this, and look forward to seeing you again during your next release.
Yeah, thanks for having us.